Hi guys, well today I'm going to be reviewing Godzilla 2014. So this is a reimagining of the original film that came out in 1954, I believe. That was the first sort of time we saw Godzilla on the big screen. And obviously there was the American remake in 1998 that fell completely flat. No one likes that film. And it's a stretch to call it a Godzilla movie. It's more of a monster movie that failed. But and they also did these sort of after the original, they did these sort of Godzilla versus sort of series, and I was never into that. I was never into the original film. I'll get that right off the bat now. I'm not a Godzilla fan. In fact, I hate this whole sort of genre of film. Big creatures attacking giant cities with no real plot isn't really my type of film. But I was willing to give this one a go. The trailers made it look very good. Obviously, Bryan Cranston's in it from Breaking Bad, and he's a terrific actor, and they really sort of put him right in the trailers. They voiceovers. We really only saw Bryan Cranston in the trailers, so it's very disappointing to know that he's not in the film for very long. In fact, that actually really pissed me off. They do this all the time. They put these big names, the biggest name of the film. I'll put them all over the trailers. Oh wait, they're not even in it that much. Okay, great, yeah, sure. And so that's the first complaint of the film. But I'm not gonna go into the problems I have first. I'm going to get on with the positives. And so it looks great. The CGI is of course absolutely, it's terrific. The visual presentation of the film is really, really good. Godzilla and all the other creatures look really, really cool. And you really get this sort of sense of scope in this film. The creatures are absolutely huge, and you don't sort of, the scale is perfect. They're not too big, they're not too small. And actually, over time, Godzilla's actually got bigger. From the 1954 version all the way up to this 2014 remake or reimagining, whatever you want to call it. Godzilla's actually got bigger, but I think this is the first time they've actually got it perfect. I think the size of him is really spot on, and all the other creatures look okay as well. Bryan Cranston is just great. Bryan Cranston's just being Bryan Cranston, and anyone that knows what Bryan Cranston is like will know that Bryan Cranston rarely disappoints. He's very good, and as I said, it's a shame he's not in it for long. Really, really annoyed me, that did actually. If they didn't put him in the trailers as much, I would have understood. I would expect, yeah, Bryan Cranston's not going to be in it that long. Oh, well, but easy. Oh, right. Okay, yeah, it's a real piss take, and it's the same for Godzilla, really. Where is Godzilla in this film exactly? I mean, he's in it quite a lot at the end. I'd say he gets 25 minutes screen time. I'd say about 7 minutes of that is us watching him underwater. And it appears these stupid looking, ridiculous spider creature things, I don't know what the name of them are, and I don't care to know either, is actually a bigger part of the film than the actual title creature. Godzilla. They're the main sort of part of the film. We don't actually see as much Godzilla as we see these things, and they're not half as interesting. They're really they're awkwardly looking. I don't like the design of them at all, and I hated them. In fact, I was waiting for them to come off screen, and at the end they get their comeuppance, and I thought they were awful. They didn't show them much in the trailers. I think they showed them in like an extra trailer thing, like the last one or something. Saw one of them flying by, but I think they look crap. And I think the film would have much benefited if they were actually scrapped and that we just concentrated on Godzilla, and we would have got a lot of this sort of side story, crap with all these things. And they weren't very good at all. I hated them, so that's a problem with the film. Now, probably the biggest issue with the film is actually the characters. They're honestly boring as hell, and Gareth Edwards' biggest influence for the film was Jaws, one of the greatest movies ever made, and it succeeded on so many levels because it wasn't about the killer shark. That was just a MacGuffin in order to tell the story. The actual heart and soul of the film was the characters, and watching the story unfold with Chief Brody and all the people around him, and the way the characters interacted with each other made the film so much better than it could have been. And that's where Godzilla, now it's interesting because Godzilla gets that formula, it has that formula, but the whole problem with it is that the characters are cardboard cutout characters, boring, uninteresting. So what you have is not a lot of Godzilla, loads of character development, that doesn't work because the characters are boring, and what you get is a very, on the one hand you get not a lot of action now. I mean, you do get a lot of action towards the end, but throughout the first 2 acts, there's not much action until you get to the 3rd act. So what you get is these very boring characters that you're not interested in at all, and you can't relate to them at all, and there's no one to latch onto, and it's a real shame, because if they got the character bit right, this film would have been a 4-star out of 5, and they would have nailed it. But for me, and I'm not saying that no one liked the characters, because lots of people were giving it positive reviews, but for me the characters didn't work, and that was the biggest drawback for the film, in my opinion. And in Godzilla we have this character named Ford Brody, which was a little bit interesting. I wonder where they got the name Brody from, but anyway, yeah, and he's a really boring character, as I said, and you wouldn't think he's the main character, because all over the trailers and posters is Bryan Cranston, but, whatever, it's Aaron Taylor-Johnston is the main character, so expect that going in. Don't expect Bryan Cranston. And, the supporting cast is, it just sucks as well. There's no one to out of all the people in the film, there's no one to latch onto, apart from Bryan Cranston, who isn't in it for very long, so that's just perfect. But anyway, Godzilla isn't a bad movie by any means, but it's certainly not a very good one either. And I really want to give it a fresh score, but I know, because I know a lot of effort was put into this film, and it's evident that it was, because the visual presentation is fantastic, the direction is fantastic, but it's the script and the acting that really lets it down. And it's not all of the acting, but yeah, it's mainly the script and some of the performances. But it honestly fell flat for me, and I wasn't really looking forward to it as a film. If I saw it, I saw it, and if I didn't, I didn't. But I saw it, and it didn't work for me. So I'd love to know what you thought in the comments below. A lot of people have loved it, a lot of people have hated it. I'm a bit below average. I wouldn't say it's an average film. I say it's a bit below, but it's certainly not an awful film. But it's just not great. But yeah, hopefully, no doubt there will be a sequel. So hopefully Gareth Edwards will improve on the sequel, because visually he is a very talented director, but this one just didn't do it for me. So yeah, that's Godzilla.
The arrogance of man is thinking nature is in our control. And not the other way around.